To start, I have a video for the best mix ingredient farming spots, so I'll link that down below for anyone who needs that. So, while I think Final Fantasy V is balanced well enough for normal playthroughs, sometimes challenge runs call for some pace-breaking grinding sessions. From Gil, EXP, ABP, even some valuable items, I'm gonna try and list every farming spot I've used in all my playthroughs. There might be a couple places I miss, so make sure to check the comments in case something gets overlooked. Also, if you're playing on Project Demi or Pixel Remaster, don't neglect the up to ×4 rewards multiplier. That'll speed things up dramatically. A weird place to start, but I do think stocking up on elixirs in World 1 can be worth your while. Running around in this ship graveyard room, the one with the 3 chests near the end of the area, and holding A can get you a decent stack depending on how long you want to stick around. You also get some minor ABP and Gil gains from this, obviously not while you're here, but hey, kick is your best friend if you have it. I remember this strategy from GBA minimum level runs of stealing Mythril swords from ice soldiers in the Shiva area of Walse and Mythril knives from wyverns in Walse Tower. They're very nice, easily accessible damage upgrades for a ton of jobs, and once you have a full set you can keep stealing for profit once you get back to town. Obviously a thief is required for this, and Walse Tower is gone once you take down Garula, but the soldiers are always available at the Shiva room, and it's not like this is going to be the only job-specific grinding spot in the list. Okay, first all-purpose grinding spot. Right outside Nakk in the forest is this encounter with 5 wild Nakk that give 675 gil. Nakk has a ton of valuable stuff with Mythril weapons, elemental rods, and some job-specific stuff after the castle escape, so you'll be able to stock up on everything you want pretty easily. Wolves as a monster type are weak to fire, so Black Mage and Summoner make this go a lot faster, and Blue Mage can learn question marks to fill out your blue spell list quicker, if you care about that. The Skull Eaters are a more suspect spot due to the RNG nature. Most encounters in Jachol Cave are 3 Nutkin, which are easy to kill and give 2 ABP, but sometimes you run into this little shit. 50-50 shot of instant 5 ABP, a huge amount this early, or Incisor, which will 100% kill someone instantly. The only reliable way to kill it is with a fixed damage attack like question marks or 1,000 needles, throwing a weapon with ninja, or gambling on stalactite from Geomancer. Just don't cast magic on it, or actually yeah, go try that. Get back to me on how that goes. If you roll Berserker in a 4-job fiesta, I highly recommend getting at least 1 or 2 death scythes from harvesters on Crescent Island. It's a ridiculously powerful weapon for this point, stronger than a lot of World 2 axes, and several bosses for the rest of the game can be cheesed by it. The encounters aren't very difficult, just a bit time consuming, but some formations have 2 of them, and you're right next to Crescent's Inn at all times in case things go bad. This thing is like half the reason to use a Berserker, the other half being magic underflow shenanigans. On the tiny island above Crescent, there's a 100% chance of fighting 5 black flames, which not only give the incredibly useful Dark Spark blue magic, but are also easily dispatched to get a massive 360 EXP and 870 gil. Best killed with either a rod-boosted summon or black spell, or throw water scrolls since they're weak to water. You could try and fight them on a beach tile and gamble with Gaia too, but very few tiles here are considered a beach. I think it's only the diagonal tiles on these islands. They only have 220 HP, but have 50% physical evade and can cripple your damage with Dark Spark. So while physicals can work, it'll take much longer. Another good thing is that they're vulnerable to stop, so if you have Bard's Stop Song allows you to brainlessly hold the A button until the fight ends. I definitely think this is the #1 grind spot in World 1 for all party compositions, but Magic parties have it much easier, that's for sure. This is the first in the line of Beastmaster only grinding spots, because control is more or less required to even scratch Prototype without a comical amount of power leveling before the first third of the game is even over. Use control on it, make it self-destruct on itself, instant 4 ABP, 125 EXP, which isn't great but it's better than nothing, and a Dark Matter, the hardest to farm of mix ingredients. If you need some blue magic, you can also use Flamethrower and Missile in case you missed it against the Ronka Ruins cannons, but mostly that 4 ABP is very nice to have for an enemy that can be wiped in a single turn. Granted, you do have to actually land that control, good luck with that. World 2 has the least amount of grinding spots, but what it does have is extremely efficient. The French statues are maybe the most infamous grinding enemy in 5. Found in either groups of 2 or 5 in Castle Ball Basement, they can be level 5 death to wipe the whole party for 4 ABP, 800 gil, or 8 ABP, 2500 gil depending on formation. The experience is pretty bad, but personally I believe level to be the least important of the 3 enemy resources, so whatever. If you don't have a blue mage, you can also instantly kill them with gold needles, but this is much slower and leaves you open to the statue's surprisingly dangerous skill set. They hit really hard like an instant kill with break, so you can't be too absent-minded here. The Shield Dragon is another you absolutely must have control to kill it monster, because its stats are not only that of an endgame boss, it also has innate reflect, so you can't chew through its 20,000 health with Faragas. Even if you do whittle its HP down, it flees at half health, so unless you have a way to pin it in place, like a Berserk or something, you need control. But if you do have it, damn are you sitting pretty. It gives the most amount of EXP in the game at 2,500 per person, 1,000 gil, and 5 ABP. So incredibly worth it if you rolled Beastmaster, but absolutely stay away otherwise. The Barrier Tower's Reflect Knights are the first way to get Reflect Rings, with Exdeath's Castle Reflect Mages being the next, but unfortunately they're a rare drop and rare steal respectively. However, like the Harvesters, there are encounters on the lower floors of both dungeons with multiple to farm off of, plus the Reflect Mage's only steal is the ring, so no worrying about getting anything else. With their innate Reflect status, it's important to be aware of their vulnerability to Break, so if you have Break Spellblade, that's the fastest way to dispose of them. It can make World 2 Exdeath somewhat easier, but it's not absolutely required. It also helps that you have an easily accessible free heal in the submarine, so any damage or KOs don't sting as bad. But if you're doing a 4-job fiesta with no thief, and you think you'll want the Reflect Rings, definitely do it in the Barrier Tower, because once you beat Atomos, you are shit out of luck. Dechirer, or Dechirer, I don't even care, found in the Forest of Moor on the overworld after it gets burned down. It's like a lesser French statue. Found in groups of 5, vulnerable to level 5 death, gives a lot of rewards. Only 3 ABP and 1700 gil compared to 8 and 2500, but you get 800 EXP, which is like 5 times higher than the statues, so if you are hurting for levels, this is much more appealing. The downside is that the Dechirers aren't a guaranteed encounter. They're common enough that you don't need to do any GBA quick save scumming, and they even share an encounter table with the land turtles for turtle shell farming, but, you know, less consistency sucks. I'm putting Gil Turtle in here even though it's not the turtle itself just walking through the hallway that gives you money. Gil Turtle, like the other super bosses, is either completely harmless or impossible depending on what you have to work with. Critical HP, Guard, Cover Knight, Image from White Mage or Ninja, or Golem from Summoner are the best ways to deal with the turtle counter. Although with Knight you'll need the Bone Mail and some Genji equipped to avoid the debuff. You also need Float from Time Mage to avoid the on-death Earthshaker. I don't think you can catch or confuse any World 2 enemy to get Float, but I might be wrong. You could also just get lucky and not encounter one, but fat chance on that. In World 3, half the encounter table of Kuza Castle stays as Shield Dragon, and the other becomes Exdeath's Soul. 20,000 HP, but a critical weakness to Holy at a point where you'll have access to lots of Holy-based offense, and a hefty 7 ABP from it, along with a free Dark Matter. This fight isn't free even with Holy, though, because his main gimmick is insta-killing people, but if you got Ribbons or the Bone Mail, the threat diminishes significantly. It's not the most practical in World 3, but you're guaranteed to be coming here. Might as well make the best of it. Every single enemy in the Great Sea Trench, including the boss, is undead, so fire spells work great, White Mage can help out, but this is the Bard's time to shine with Requiem. You can literally just hold A with all characters if you have Sing mastered, since it costs 0 MP and there's no risk of it failing. And as a bonus, if the enemies don't die to it, they won't do their counterattacks that they'd ordinarily do. There are more efficient spots, but sometimes you have to appreciate the simplicity. Starting with the Phoenix Tower's standout enemy, you can't really farm on the magic pot, but I'll take this section to remind everyone of the magic pot cheese method. Magic is blocked during the fight for some reason, but if you have the Wonder Rod, you can use it as an item to cast a return if your first elixir doesn't cause him to flee. Aside from that, the random encounters here are pretty profitable. Everything is susceptible to Stop Song if you have it, the rewards are all decent, and you can steal red shoes from Sherry to sell for 4,900 gil, and reflect rings from Lemur for a sweet 10,000. You can't flee from them though, so you do have to see the battle through, but hey, you got a thief knife at least. Vilia farming is only recommended if you're playing on Pixel Remaster or have the Gladiator's Lure ability in GBA, because otherwise ocean encounters are obscenely uncommon. In the very lower left corner of the map, Vilia is out and about. She doesn't do much aside from slap you real hard, not even being immune to control, and despite her 19,000 health can be insta-killed by most anything, aside from Blue Mage's Doom. But she's level 3 flareable, so just use your MP on that. She gives a massive 25 ABP and 10,000 gil, with Angel Rings as a rare drop for a further 25,000 for the pile. I think Vilia might be even more of an absurd encounter than Stingray. Without looking at your map, you can't really know where you are as opposed to the right next to Phoenix Tower, and in SNES, who would stalk the corner of the sea for long enough to finally fight something out here? Iron Giants are tied with Shield Dragon for highest EXP in the game, and unlike the dragon, are plausibly beatable, even coming in groups of 2 occasionally. They aren't heavy, but are level 61 and have a catastrophic 90% magic evade, so there's almost no chance of your gravity type spells working. If you can hit a Dark Spark, you can bring out the level 5 death. Maybe it's even worth trying, because hitting these guys often results in very, very painful retaliation. Personally, I'd try and abuse their water weakness. Ninja or Summoner will help a lot here, and on GBA you can use the quick save bug to guarantee the double encounter to maximize EXP. Either way, you gotta be very careful. Most enemies in the final area of the rift give a lot of gil and ABP while giving no EXP, but crystal dragons are notable for being the best way to farm for elixirs. It's their common steal, with a rare dragon lance steal for a nice 15,000 gil, or giving to your dragoon I guess, and if you beat them you get another 10,000 with 32 ABP. Actually doing that is another thing, because they love spamming Breath Wing and hitting you hard, but it's not impossible, especially since they're not immune to instant death. Their level and magic evade is high enough that gambling in that way won't get you far, but Death Potion will work just fine, and level 2 Old works on them, so screw it, go fishing for level 5 deaths. It almost always eventually works. The movers are the Golden Goose, the crown jewel of grinding enemy in Final Fantasy V. No EXP unfortunately, as mentioned of every other enemy here, but 150,000 gil, 199 ABP, what the hell? That is a ROM hack level of rewards, and they're not even that strong, they're just freakishly rare. They're undead, apparently, so weakness to fire and holy is easily exploitable, and I think you have to kill them close enough to each other or else they do something. I've never found out what it is, I am not going to find out. They're heavy, level 52, only have 10 magic evade, with a surprising lack of immunity to status like sleep and control. Again, the issue isn't really fighting them, it's finding them, and with GBA's quick save bug usable in the Necrophobe save room, even that isn't a problem. Hopefully this list helps some of you out there, or is a nice bookmark-worthy video for anyone doing 4-job fiestas to occasionally come back to. There's no doubt I've left out some helpful spots, most of them likely steel related, so as always check out the comments for other helpful community members.